State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Here we go!
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned. State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live. Stay tuned.
Welcome to my word. Welcome to this side of time. Let's reflect. Let's reflect together. Let's look at history. Let's look at politics. Let's look at power. On this edition of State Affairs, we are looking at the topic, the tragedy of Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB's civil war. Thank you for joining the stream. I was looking at this book before joining you. It's a book entitled An African History of Africa, From the Dawn of Humanity to Independence. A book written by Zainab Badawi. Look at the book. If you read the book, issues like self-determination will stare at you. Issues like identity will reflect through your mind. And when you talk about Nnamdi Kanu, you also talk about a subject of identity. In this case, it is connected to the Igbo identity. It is about the Biafran question. So while reading Zainab Badawi, questions kept coming up. Why Africa? Why the borders? How do we handle the subject of ethnicity? What is the definition of sovereignty in Africa? It's a book you will enjoy reading. An African History of Africa. The subject we are treating tonight is a subject of history. It also reminds me of a new book, The Autobiography of Yakubu Gowon. The Autobiography of Yakubu Gowon. There's no way Gowon was going to write his autobiography without dwelling on the Nigerian Civil War. So you can also call this a classic on the Nigerian Civil War This was the man who supervised the war on the side of Nigeria. On the side of Biafra, you talk about Odumegwu Ojukwu. And I'm happy that Yakubu Gowon wrote an autobiography. You know, I kept wondering, will Yakubu Gowon die without telling the story of the Civil War? Ojukwu died without giving us a comprehensive account of what happened, how he ran Biafra during the time. Though he came out with a book, because I am involved, I wanted a detailed account of Ojukwu's activities during the war. Unfortunately, Ojukwu left us without an autobiography. But his friend, Frederick Forsyth, wrote his biography. You know that small, comprehensive book entitled The Maker? We can also say that is the voice of Ojukwu. Gowon was going to leave us without telling a comprehensive story. Perhaps he changed his mind. But before this book by Gowon, Professor Elagu wrote a biography of Gowon. And that book is titled Gowon. I read it, but I wanted the voice of Gowon. General Yakubu Gowon, thank you for writing this book. Thank you. It is your story. Many will disagree with your story, but it is your story. I am still reading the book. Soon I'll begin to review the book. If you are a student of Nigerian politics, you should be studying this book. He also talked about how he was overthrown. He was in Uganda when he was overthrown. He gave a detailed account of what happened, how some of those he trusted betrayed him. And he warned Murtala Muhammad that whatever he was planning, somehow, he might pay for it. It might not go well for him. Perhaps Yakubu Gowon was prophetic. Welcome to this side of time. I am a reader. I read books. What about you? When last did you read a book? Thank you for joining the broadcast. I'm used to broadcasts. Invite your friends. Tell them to join this broadcast. So what is the plan? I'll be streaming every Tuesday night and Thursday night. So you can also join me on Thursday, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Oh, did I say Tuesday? Today is Monday, rather. Mondays and Wednesdays. It's on TikTok. On TikTok, I stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So on YouTube, Facebook, X, you catch me on Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. The tragedy of Nnamdi Kanu, or IPOB's civil war. That is the subject we are looking at tonight. It depends on where you are. If you are in the United States, it might not be tonight. I'm not in Nigeria, but it's still tonight where I am. So we'll begin with a question. A question that has haunted political movements for centuries. What happens to a revolution when its prophet is silenced? You can also help me answer that question. What happens to a revolution when its prophet is silenced? What do you think is the answer? I will provide my own answer to that question. And you can leave your comment, you can write, and I'll be happy to read your feedback. If need be, I would open the phone line. You can see the numbers scrolling on the screen. But you can only call the first number. That's the 999-18449. But not now. You can call on WhatsApp. I will open the line at some point so that you can also help answer the question. What happens to a revolution when its prophet is silenced? Imagine this: a movement born from the ashes of a brutal civil war. A movement animated by the dream of a nation that never was. Its leader, a man whose voice once crackled through radio frequencies, galvanizing millions, is now reduced to whispers through prison walls. His followers, once united by a common enemy, now turn their guns, figuratively and perhaps literally, on each other. One faction led by a man acquitted by the very courts that condemned their founder declares the leader's office suspended. The other faction, speaking for the imprisoned leader, denounces this as treason, threatening expulsion and disciplinary action. This is not the plot of a political thriller. This is the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in 2026, a movement tearing itself apart while the Nigerian state watches and perhaps feeds the flames. The Nigerian government has already branded IPOB members terrorists. Nigerian courts have convicted the leader of IPOB to life imprisonment and declared him an international terrorist. And yet, in a devastating twist, the same judiciary has acquitted one of his top lieutenants, a man now leading the charge against Nnamdi Kanu's authority. It is the story of Nnamdi Kanu. It is the story of IPOB. This is the story of how states destroy movements not through military force, but through legal warfare by creating the conditions for internal collapse. It is the story of charisma versus institution, of martyrdom versus pragmatism, of a movement trapped between its revolutionary origins and the cold realities of survival. We will trace Nnamdi Kanu's decade-long legal odyssey, from his 2015 arrest to his dramatic escape in 2017, to his sensational rendition from Kenya in 2021. We'll also look at his recent life sentence. We will examine the state's strategic deployment of the terrorist label, how an ex parte order in 2017 criminalized an entire movement, and how selective acquittals have fueled internal fractures. We will explore the philosophical and historical parallels from the court of Peron in Argentina to the martyrdom of Öcalan in Turkey to understand the tragic choices facing IPOB at this moment. The central question is no longer whether the state will destroy IPOB. The question is whether IPOB would destroy itself first. So, settle in. We are about to take you deep into the heart of a movement's fracture, a story of law, a story of power, a story of loyalty, and the brutal calculation of political survival. Let's go into the heart of the story. Are you with me? I'll be happy to read your comments. Let me see. Let me see if you are saying something already. Are you on X? Are you listening on X? If the program benefits you, can you share the program? Are you on Facebook? If you are learning from the program, can you share? Can you repost? Can you invite your friends to join? Can you share the link, the YouTube link? I'll be happy to see you do that. The essence is to take the message further. So as you share, I say thank you. As you listen, thank you. As you comment, thank you. As you prepare to call, thank you. It is State Affairs with Edmund Obilo. All right. I'm yet to see a comment. So we are looking at a struggle that has just struck the heart of the Biafran secessionist movement. It is a tale of two factions, a detained leader and a power struggle that reveals the fault lines threatening to tear the indigenous people of Biafra apart. On one side, you have the IPOB Directorate of State, its highest decision-making body, now led by Chika Edoziem. They've made an unprecedented move. They have gone ahead to indefinitely suspend the office of the leader of IPOB and the position of Director of Radio Biafra, both previously held by the man who has been the movement's face for a decade, Nnamdi Kanu. In a statement, Edoziem justified this drastic action as a protective measure. The DOS, that's the Directorate of State, cited intelligence report about a meeting between Kanu and Nigerian security agencies, concerns that communications from Kanu's prison have led to the arrest and death of members, and fears that a new militia is being formed to ignite violence. So take note of that point. The Directorate of State of IPOB fears that a new militia is being formed to ignite violence. The DOS argued that a decentralized leadership structure is necessary for the movement's survival, declaring that no individual has the authority to dissolve its central leadership structure. This is an administrative dispute, a fundamental claim that the movement is now bigger than the man who created it. Do you think so? On the other side is the IPOB faction speaking through its media and publicity secretary, Ima Powerful, which has fiercely rejected this coup. This faction insists that Nnamdi Kanu remains the supreme leader and that he lawfully dissolved the Edoziem-led DOS administration before this suspension was announced, replacing it with a new leadership headed by Chris Nwogu. For this faction, the move by Edoziem is illegal, null and void. The authority, they argue, rests exclusively with Kanu, even from prison. As one statement put it, the authority of the supreme leader remains supreme, unquestionable, and binding on all members. Now, let's look at the implications of this quarrel within IPOB. It is a fight for the very soul of the movement. The movement is stuck in a paradox. Its founder, Nnamdi Kanu, is a convicted prisoner with a life sentence. He is not just a leader. He has been symbolically elevated to a quasi-sacred status, the supreme leader. He is the martyr, the voice from behind bars, the living embodiment of the struggle. His authority is absolute and unquestionable. This is a powerful tool for mobilizing the base, but it is also a fatal structural vulnerability. A movement that centralizes all powers in a single inaccessible individual is a movement that cannot evolve or adapt. It is frozen in time, emotionally and strategically. The Edosian faction is arguing that operational necessity, intelligence, and the safety of members require a more pragmatic, decentralized approach, a distributed network that can withstand state pressure. The Kanu loyalists argue that such pragmatism is a betrayal of the movement's sacred founding principles. Both sides are using the language of constitutionality. The Kanu loyalists argue that only their interpretation of the IPOB The Kanu loyalists argue that only their interpretation of the IPOB Code of Conduct is correct, that it gives Kanu the power to hire and fire anyone, anywhere, at any time. The Edosian faction argues that the Directorate of State itself is the apex institution and that its decisions are constitutional. This is a collision between a formal, written. This is a collision between a formal and a written constitution and the unruly reality of charismatic authority. IPOB is discovering that its constitution is merely a rubber stamp for the will of its charismatic founder, a charter for a dictatorship of the leader. And now that the leader is in prison, the system is being tested. The Edosian faction's suspension of Kanu's office can be seen as a desperate act of survival. By accusing Kanu of creating violence, they are trying to save the movement's non-violent reputation. By questioning Nnamdi Kanu's judgment, they are protecting the lives of their members from a leader whose unguarded utterances are being monitored and used against them. How did they arrive at that conclusion? Nnamdi Kanu is the face of IPOB. Nnamdi Kanu stands his ground. Even in court, Nnamdi Kanu stands tall. He has never appeared as a man who is afraid of defending his ideals. Even in court, he speaks boldly. So who is behind this division? Will a new IPOB come soon? By questioning Nnamdi Kanu's judgment, they argue that they are protecting the lives of their members from a leader whose unguarded utterances are being monitored and used against members of IPOB. It is a brutal, pragmatic claim. Their statement reads, "The leader's actions are a liability to the cause." That is the words they used. The leader's actions are a liability to the cause. This is the language of political realism. The Kanu loyalists, on the other hand, have framed this as a monstrous betrayal, an act of gross insubordination, and a power grab by a group that had been lawfully dissolved. They are using the language of loyalty and martyrdom, which is the language of emotional survival for a movement under siege. Here is the most insidious implication of all. The Edosium faction is in effect claiming that the command structure itself has been compromised by the Nigerian state. They are arguing that the state is using their own leader to dismantle the movement, but the Kanu loyalists can level the same charge. Who is a foreign agent and who is a patriot? In a climate of mistrust and conspiracy, this is an impossible question to answer, and it's one of the most effective ways for a state to destroy a movement from within. In the end, this crisis is a classic tragedy of revolution. A classic tragedy of revolution. It is the story of a movement that has outgrown its own methods. It cannot function without its leader, but its leader cannot function without creating chaos. What do you think? The question for IPOB is no longer just about Biafra. It is about its own ability to exist. Can a movement built on the charisma of one man survive the loss of that man? Or does it face the final bitter fate of all such movements, self-destruction, before the enemy can even deliver the final blow? I would like to get your feedback. Okay, I have a caller here.
Yes, Mr. Bilo, good evening from here.
I greet you.
Yes, I saw a very wonderful program you are holding, and I want to give a wonderful contribution. Anyway, my name is Keke Ugo. This question you asked now is very important question. And the strategic question we need to answer if all of us are sincere. You don't create something. Let me just say something like you're asking this question. I saw a write-up of strategic of Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB civil war. The truth of the matter, we don't have civil war. We have enemy within. That is what is called enemy within, because of power mongers, envy and jealousy, and they want to disturb and just to demolish everything we have suffered for the past 10 years. I don't know if you have any important question to ask people like us that is inside the IPOB, so that I will answer you verbatim here.
No, I just want your comment on what is going on.
Okay, my comment for what is going on, we have to stand firm. All of us in the eastern part of Nigeria, is Biafran region, if I may use that word, we must stand firm for this particular ESN, the called ESN that is coming today. We must stand, all of us, to stop this particular attitude they want to bring in the name of calling Nnamdi Kanu's name. My brother, everybody will suffer for this. The kidnapping have been too much. Nobody knows whether it's Fulani, nobody knows whether it's our people. In the name of creating ESN under Biafra or whatever they are doing, my brother, we must condemn it. So my question and my opinion is for all of us to stand as you have this program to condemn this particular atrocity before it's too late. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining the discourse. Thank you. Thank you. You can see the numbers scrolling on the screen. If you want to join the discourse, you call the first one. That is 080 18449. Yes, you call that number. Call the first one. And if you also want to order books on the Civil War, you can contact Udara Books on these numbers too. And remember to make your comment brief and straight to the point. Hello.
Hello.
I greet you.
Hello, please confirm you can hear me. Good evening.
I can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Edmond. And thank you for the program you're holding regarding the issues surrounding IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, and the members. Yes, I have a contribution to make. I have listened and gotten the questions you have asked regarding this. My submission is this. In this struggle, we only have one leader, and that is Nnamdi Kanu. According to their code of conduct, which I've been able to see, he solemnly have the power to appoint and dissolve. Just the same way he has appointed Chike Dozin, is the same way he has dismissed him. What I see happening is a tussle for power. And because we know that the third administration of the IPOB has been infiltrated, so they are trying to force themselves to the people. This is my own submission. I might be wrong. So what Nnamdi Kanu has done from the prison where he is to say, look, I am still in charge. So it's left for the federal government to know who to deal with. So if they think they have been able to infiltrate IPOB, now it is proving to them that without me, the struggle continue. With me, the struggle still continue. So I am the face of this movement. If you must deal, you must deal with me. This is my submission. But on the other hand, for the people, the followers, what I believe is they are confused on what to believe because of the plenty narrative flying around since the kidnap of Nnamdi Kanu. So it's difficult to believe or to trust someone. And owing to the fact that Nnamdi Kanu is still in prison, it makes it even more difficult. So at this point, we will keep watching and see how things unfold. I believe the fourth administration that has been appointed by Nnamdi Kanu, from the look of things, watching the man appointed, I forgot his name, when he made his welcome speech, at least now they have someone who can speak to the people when Nnamdi Kanu is not there, unlike the previous third administration, where no one was able to communicate to the people.
Thank you.
So this is my position. Thank you, and may you continue to do well. Thank you, Mr. Edmond. I'll keep watching your program and sharing your program because this is where we find truth and can easily express ourselves. Thank you, Mr. Edmond.
Thank you. Yes, I will appreciate that you share. Are you on Facebook? I am calling on you to share. Are you on X? Repost. Are you on YouTube? Share the link. Let's have a rich conversation. I also have my opinion. I'm giving my own analysis, and I'm ready to listen to you. But remember, we must be moderate in our comments. Let's be moderate in our comments.
I also have my opinion.
Hello.
I'm giving my own analysis. Hello, Mr. Obilo.
I greet you.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I saw your program. I say, let me add my own view on your question regarding what's going on in IPOB. Mr. Obilo, you are a very sound journalist, and I've been following you for a while. I know you understand how the government deals with insurrection or a group like us, the freedom fighters and agitators. What the government tries to do here is to implore a system where everybody will have distrust to each other by accusing one another. That will lead then to the eventual decapitation of the movement. This is exactly what is going on. But the truth is this. Nnamdi Kanu is in prison. Most of the decisions coming out from Sokoto are not exactly what we know him from. Those surrounding him obviously are not honest and not sincere. So what the Directorate of State did, led by Mazi Chika Edoziem, is to extricate and separate the office, not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu himself, but the office of the leader of indigenous people of Biafra and the director of Radio Biafra, so that they will neutralize every message that they claim that is coming from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. This move was made in order to save him, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and save IPOB members and save the movement itself. So there is no harm here. Nobody is against nobody, but just to make sure that we continue the struggle moving forward. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll take more calls as we go. Let's break it down. I'll give some examples and I will open the lines again. In this instance of what is going on in IPOB, history offers a clear, if sobering answer. Remember the question: can a movement built on the charisma of one man survive the loss of that man? Or does it face the final bitter face? Or does it face the final bitter fate of all such movements, self-destruction, before the enemy can even deliver the final blow? In this instance, history offers a clear, if sobering answer. So let me attempt to answer the question. I will also give you the chance to answer. My answer to the question is yes. Yes, that movement can survive, but only through a difficult and often violent transformation. Let's look at how this has played out in world politics. Here, I am going to consider three distinct paths, and these paths reveal the options and the perils that lie ahead for IPOB. Part 1. I call it the routinization of charisma. It can also be described as Gaullism in France, because I want to use Gaullism in France as a case study. And when I say Gaullism, I'm referring to the man Charles de Gaulle, a former leader of France. He was a charismatic leader. So because of his immense contribution to world politics, he is being studied, and the study of Charles de Gaulle is Gaullism. Who knows? Nnamdi Kanu may also be a school of political thought that can be studied. In that case, it can be Kanusm. Max Weber, the sociologist who defined charismatic authority, argued that for a movement to survive its founder, it must undergo routinization. Routinization. What does this mean? It means transforming the leader's personal magnetic appeal into a more durable form of authority, like a political party or a set of institutions. It means transforming the leader's personal magnetic appeal into a more durable form of authority, like a political party or a set of institutions. A classic example is France's Gaullist movement. When President Charles de Gaulle resigned in 1969, many predicted that his political vehicle would collapse. Yet the Gaullist party survived and remained a major force in French politics. This happened because, under de Gaulle, the movement had already built a solid institutional base, a party apparatus, and a political identity that could outlast the man. The charismatic bond was translated into a structured organization. Let's look at part 2. However, a charismatic movement does not necessarily have to become a bureaucratic organization. The political scientist Kathleen Andrews Lee has studied how movements like Peronism in Argentina and Chavismo in Venezuela have survived by reviving their charismatic nature. This happens when a successor leader fulfills two conditions. 1. They implement bold, successful policies that prove that they are also capable leaders. They symbolically tie themselves to the founder's legacy, convincing followers that they are continuing the founder's mission. That is number 2. In Argentina, leaders after Juan Perón deliberately cultivated his messianic image and the movement's cult of personality to retain power. Awolowo was able to do that in Yoruba land. As we speak, in Yoruba land, they are still talking about Awoism. the followers of Awo. Nnamdi Azikiwe could not achieve that in Igbo land, perhaps because of the civil war that brought in another charismatic leader, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu. We'll come to that. In Argentina, leaders after Juan Perón deliberately cultivated his messianic image and the movement's cult of personality to retain power. Similarly, in Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro repeatedly invoked the name of Hugo Chavez to sustain support for his own administration, leaning on the founder's immense symbolic capital. Sadly, Nicolas Maduro was recently extracted from his bedroom by the United States of America. Even at that, the followers of Hugo Chavez are still in charge in Venezuela. So this part suggests that a movement doesn't have to depersonalize. It can instead transfer its emotional core to a new chosen leader. Hasn't Nnamdi Kanu done that already? Now let's look at part 3. The failure of succession. And I'll use the Biafran War as a case study. So this brings us to the most tragic example, one intimately tied to the very cause that IPOB champions, the original Republic of Biafra. That movement, led by the charismatic Emeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, ended not with a smooth succession, but with a military defeat in January 1970. The enemy, in quote, delivered the final blow. The Nigerian Federal Forces took over Biafra. There was never a chance to test the movement's ability to survive its leader because the state did not survive the war. So this is the cautionary tale of IPOB. External defeat renders all questions of internal succession irrelevant. When I did my master's degree in political science, my thesis was on the Igbo question, and the focus was Ahịara Declaration. Because Ahịara Declaration is the Biafran document stating the ideals of the Biafran Revolution. If you are an Igbo man and you have not read that document, please go and read it. It is online. Download it. Read it. And I'm planning to publish my thesis because I did an analysis of that document. I am a student of the Biafran question. And if you check my YouTube channels, you will find interviews on the Nigerian Civil War. I'm still conducting more interviews that will be released soon. Because the Biafran question is the biggest question in the history of Nigeria. And it cannot be swept under the carpet just like that. And it's part of the reason that the governments of the time removed history from secondary school syllabus. but we must study it. So I read anything on Biafra. That is why when Yakubu Gowon released his autobiography, I was excited. I said, yes, let Gowon tell his story of the war. Just that I'm sad that Ojukwu did not give us a detailed account of the war. But many of those who fought alongside Ojukwu have given detailed account of the war. This is Gowon's autobiography. You get this book on udarabooks.com. Udarabooks.com is our store. What we have done with that bookstore is to stock every available work on Nigerian history. So udarabooks.com offers you the opportunity to get available books. Some of the books on the Biafran War are no longer available. And reading those books will also help you understand different perspectives of the war. I have seen some persons that have already condemned Yakubu Gowon's story. It is his story. He tells his story the way he wants to tell it, but historians will analyze it. I don't know if you have listened to my interview with Alabi Sama. I have sat down. While Alabi Sama was writing this book, I was even reading the manuscript. What attracted me to him while he was writing was the maps he had of the war. Yeah, he fought on the side of Nigeria. He told the story. And the pictures in the book, the pictures, no one had or has the picture that Alabi Sama has of the war. He went into the war with cameras. You can see pictures. Every page you find pictures. Pictures of the war. And you find maps of the war. So you can listen to my interview with Alabi Sama on my YouTube channel. And I must say, he wrote a good book. I saw him writing the book. I saw him publish the book. It is his own story. I cannot tell his story for him. I have told my dad to write his own story. He fought in the war. I have interviewed him. Someday I will release the interview. He fought in the war. He saw the war. He fought on the Biafran side. Now, and these books are not just, look at this one, The Last Flight. Oh, you will love this book. A pilot remembers the Air Force and the Biafran air attacks, written by Captain August Ukbe. You know, he spoke about how they escaped from Kaduna. He was part of the Nigerian Air Force. When the pogrom started in the north, Igbo officers needed to run away. His description of how they escaped is dehumanizing. It is dehumanizing. How military officers were escaping from death from the north. It is a must read for anyone interested in the Civil War, The Last Flight. You'll find it on udarabooks.com, and you can also get them through the numbers on the screen. You can just chat to Udara Books. Those are also Udara Books' number. It is our store. I am the founder of the store because I feel that we should read about what happened. So we have collected more than 50 works on the war. We are yet to put Yakubu Gowon's book on the store, but we have copies. But it's not on the website yet. It is about the tragedy of Nnamdi Kanu. It is about IPOB. Is there a civil war in IPOB? I am ready to read your comment. Share as you go. Let's share this broadcast. All right, let's take some calls. Be moderating your comments. Be moderating your comments.
Share as you go. Yes.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. Yeah, good evening, Obilo. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for picking my call. My name is Patrick.
Yes, Mr. Patrick, make your comment.
Okay, yes, I want to appreciate you. I followed your programs as regards to the issue of Biafra. In fact, I'm one of your fans, considering your interest in the Biafra story. And it's also quite interesting to still see you coming to IPOB issue to also help possibly write the story as well, because I know that in the future you might choose to write your own book based on your experience and stories you've had and documentaries you made as regards to the IPOB journey. So for me, it's quite delighting, and that is the reason many of us are concerned that we have to set the record straight, because the story will also be told in the future, just like we see the likes of Gowan telling their own stories and every other person who participated in the Biafra Civil War. Some of the Biafra Civil War stories were distorted, no doubt. Some of the stories were told, in defense of the Biafran side, while some were also told in the defense of the Nigerian side. So you can tell your story based on how you feel it suits your own interest and understanding. So that brings us to the issue of IPOB. And there is a question you asked just a few minutes ago: is there a civil war in IPOB? Absolutely not. There is no civil war in IPOB. The truth of the matter is that IPOB have never lived without crisis. From its foundation till this moment, IPOB have gone through crisis right from onset due to what I would say lack of some sort of transparency in dealings. In recent time, we've seen the likes of Wazurike, we've seen the likes of Emeka Esiri coming to tell their own story of their encounter with Nnamdi Kanu. We've seen so many other people too who have come to talk about how they sponsored the project and how the whole story went down. So when you look at the trajectory of how Nnamdi Kanu started, also looking at that from the perspective of what we are seeing today, the whole trajectory goes always in the same direction, where Nnamdi Kanu have not actually been able to work effectively, transparently, with people who have worked with him right from the beginning till this moment. And these are the experience we've also seen some of us in IPOB, where at some point the IPOB as an organization was kind of being pushed into a direction of a family kind of hegemony, and with that perspective, a lot of young Biafrans feel it is completely wrong that the IPOB that everybody have contributed to through crowdfunding, supported. We've seen young people put their lives on the line, make sacrifices. Is being pushed in a direction that makes it look like a family, Nnamdi Kanu family business. So when you say there is a civil war in IPOB, to some extent there is a kind of internal revolution and resistance to make sure that such does not happen. Now, at the beginning, I listened to people calling in to talk about the dissolving of the Directorate of State. For the first time in IPOB, we saw a situation where leadership structure of IPOB was built outside the pool. It has never happened before. So that gives a lot of people concern and put a lot of suspicion in people's mind that you cannot choose leadership of IPOB outside the pool, considering the laid down rules and regulation that guides the IPOB structure. There is a code of conduct that put their IPOB structure in a formation that you cannot choose leadership from outside the pool. And that is the reason you see people consider the new setup, whatever, if I may use the new setup structure by Nnamdi Kanu as illegitimate because it is not in conformity with the IPOB code of conduct and IPOB oath, because there is also an oath that backs up that code of conduct. So practically, many IPOB members, thousands and millions of IPOB members are asking questions, but they are not getting their required answers. Do you want to ask a question?
No, I'm just saying you should round off.
Okay. So let me try to round it up. So as long as IPOB all over the world is concerned, what is being constituted now as a new Directorate of State is completely illegitimate to Biafrans all over the world who are IPOB members, who have paid their dues, who have made their contributions, who have put their lives on the line. The new constituted body is
thank you.
It is, yes, it doesn't conform with the principle that guides the movement. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you for making your point. Let's also make it brief so that others can contribute.
So the new constituted body. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
All right, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
So make your point.
Okay. Good evening from here, Mr. Below. Good evening from here. Okay.
Okay. You see, don't monitor through your system. Monitor through the phone because there is delay. I can hear delay.
Yeah.
So just listen to me through your phone.
It's all right. Good evening. I want to also say good evening to our great listeners. I am Mazitika Austin, a member of the movement of the indigenous people of Biafra. Let me respond to the question you raised, which has to do with if there is a civil war in IPOB. To me, there is absolutely nothing like civil war in IPOB. Rather, what IPOB is experiencing, just like every movement prior to this time, is what I would call transition. And that transition is as a result of development. The transition is as a result of the contingencies, events happening, which might not really be in the original plan of the movement, but circumstances. And every movement that wants to survive must be unique to study events, evolving events, and be able to make sure she takes advantage of the event. So if you look at IPOB, unarguably the former leader of the movement, which is Nnamdi Kanu, because the position is so far suspended by the leadership. When the state caught him, whether we like it or not, Nigerian government cannot spend all the resources to get him in Kenya, and we expect them not to work to undermine the movement. Except we do not understand the behavior of state actors. We have to tell ourselves the truth, devoid of sentiments. And so far, since he was, renditioned back to Nigeria, there have been a very obvious clandestine efforts to undermine the movement, these efforts have been targeted on the structure of the movement. I will give you several instances where decisions have been taken not in cognizance, not in relationship with the structure of the movement.
Hello.
And you hear words like lawyer said, Onyendu said, phrases like that. Siblings of Onyendu giving order with the phrase Onyendu said, without even looking at the administrative structure of the movement. So it has gotten to a point that every available intelligence is pointing to the fact that the state actor and her collaborators are maximizing that, phrase of Onyendu said. And in order to make sure that slogan is not used to penetrate and undermine the core objective of the movement, the office was suspended. The office was suspended. Take note of that, because the office has been used by individual advancing moves that undermine the core objectives of the movement. And when they ask them, they say the director said. So the action you saw the leadership taking, those actions were taken in order to safeguard the movement and her destination.
Thank you.
It's wrong for anybody to interpret that. I hope I'm coming out loud.
You are loud, but Randolph.
Good, let me run. It's wrong for anybody to interpret or give a correlation of such as a civil war. No, it is action that is propelled as a result of survivalhood. And of course, every sensible person commends the leadership under Chika, Dibia, Edoziem in taking that pragmatic action. Thanks so much. I want to appreciate you because I do follow your programs. They are really intellectually packed. Keep it up. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Okay, I will open the lines again. And this is also to announce that you can always join me every night to look at Nigerian history every Monday and Wednesday nights on Facebook, YouTube. 8 p.m. Nigerian time. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Nigerian time, I am on TikTok. Mondays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Nigerian time, I am on YouTube and Facebook. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I am on TikTok. So this is going to be a regular analysis of events. This is part 1 of my research on IPOB. Part 2 might be on Wednesday, or I might move it to next week. But I'm also going to treat subjects on history, international affairs. For those who are just joining me for the first time, let me introduce myself a bit. I had my first degree in electrical and electronics engineering. That is my first degree. So I am science inclined. I still study science. I always go about with my physics textbook. So I later went back to the university to have another degree on international relations. So I also have a BSc in international relations. I'm also a theater person. For those who have followed me on radio, over time, I used to run a program called Village Square. So I have a postgraduate diploma in theater arts. I also have a master's degree in communications and language arts. I have a master's degree in political science. What about PhD? Okay, let me keep that to myself. I am a student of Nigerian history. I'm a learner. I learn every day. As you are giving me this feedback, I am learning. And after the show, I'll go back and listen again. You are providing me with research tools, your comments. I will go back, listen, analyze them, and continue the analysis on the Igbo question. It is about the tragedy of Nnamdi Kanu. To understand the depth of this crisis, we have to go back to the beginning to understand how Kanu got to prison, and more importantly, how the Nigerian state might be deliberately exploiting this crisis to destroy IPOB from within. Kanu's journey to a life sentence is a saga of arrest, escape, and extraordinary rendition. It began in October 2015 when he was arrested in Lagos on charges of treasonable felony and terrorism. He spent 18 months in detention before being granted bail on health grounds in April 2017. But his freedom was short-lived. That September, a military operation at his family home forced him to flee with a bench warrant issued for his arrest. He remained in exile for nearly 4 years. Then, in June 2021, came the dramatic twist. He was sensationally rearrested in Kenya and returned to Nigeria, a move later ruled unlawful by a Kenyan high court. The Nigerian government called it an arrest. Nnamdi Kanu's lawyers have always called it an extraordinary rendition. The trial that followed was chaotic. It was passed between different judges, and in a pivotal moment, a court of appeal ordered his release, declaring his rendition illegal. That ruling was overturned by the Supreme Court, which restored the terrorism charges. In the final phase before Justice James Omotosho, the proceedings took an even more bizarre turn. Kanu fired his legal team and chose to represent himself. He reportedly asked the court a single question. My lord, please show me the law under which I am being tried. His defense team later argued that the prosecution had engineered a trial without law, noting that the judge admitted that the Constitution forbids conviction without a written law, but the judge proceeded anyway. On November 20, 2025, Justice Omotosho convicted Kanu and sentenced him to life imprisonment. The judgment on November 20th, 2025 was delivered after a decade of legal drama. The scene itself was chaotic. Kanu was forcibly removed from the courtroom for unruly behavior before the ruling was read. He was insisting that the judge was biased and that proceedings couldn't continue. Despite Kanu's objections and his decision to rest his case without entering a defense, Justice Omotosho proceeded to convict him on all 7 counts of terrorism, including treason and membership of a proscribed organization. The court found him guilty of count 1 and 2. The court declared that Nnamdi Kanu committed acts of terrorism by broadcast intending to intimidate the population and issuing a sit-at-home order that violated the freedom of movement of Southeasterners. The court found him guilty of counts 4 and 5, that Nnamdi Kanu encouraged the public to kill and attack Nigerian security officers. Justice Omotosho convicted Nnamdi Kanu of count 6, that he incited the public to burn federal government facilities in Lagos, causing major economic loss. On count 3, the court found him guilty of professing himself a member of IPOB, a proscribed terrorist organization. On count 7, Justice Omotosho convicted Kanu for importing a radio transmitter for Radio Biafra. Perhaps the most politically significant aspect of the ruling was Justice Omotosho's declaration that Kanu is an international terrorist. This classification stemmed from specific broadcast. This classification stemmed from specific broadcast where Kanu threatened to attack the British High Commission and kill the then British High Commissioner, Katrina Liang, and also ordered that the American embassy be brought down. The judge framed these actions as acts of international terrorism under Section 3 of the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, arguing that they risk a diplomatic incident involving Nigeria and foreign powers. The prosecution had pushed for the death penalty, but Justice Omotosho opted for life imprisonment, citing 2 reasons. 1, the international community's increasing opposition to executions, and his personal decision to temper justice with mercy. The breakdown was life imprisonment on counts 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. 20 years imprisonment on count 3, and 5 years imprisonment on count 7, all to run concurrently. The judge also ordered Kanu to be kept in protective custody, not in Kuje prison, and banned him from unsupervised use of digital devices. The court ordered the federal government to take over his transmitter. Crucially, Justice Omotosho dismantled Kanu's key defenses. On the issue of his extraordinary rendition from Kenya in 2021, the judge ruled that even if it was illegal, it did not invalidate the trial, as Kanu had already been arraigned in 2015. The remedy for unlawful rendition, he argued, was monetary compensation, which he noted that Kenya had already awarded, not a halt to the trial. Justice Omotosho also dismissed the argument that the trial was based on a repeat statute, stating that the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013 was in force when the offenses were committed. The program is State Affairs. Join the discourse. The lines are open. So you can call the first line scrolling on the screen. WhatsApp code, that first line 080 999 18449. And if you want to order books on the Nigerian question, you can visit udarabooks.com or also chat with Udara Books on the numbers on the screen. Hello. Yes, I'm trying to put you on. I don't know, it's keep blinking. Just hold on, just hold on. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, good evening, Mazobilo.
Good evening.
Thank you for your hard work on issue of Igbo people and Biafra in general. We appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Please, I'm just to tell you, don't mind the insult that's coming on the comment section. You can see how these people are pained. You can see how Kanu brother came here with the insult, insulting people. This is what we are talking about. IPOB is not built by family. It's built by IPOB in general. And the Kanu and his junior brother have no position in the IPOB. This is what we are talking about. Please, sir, don't be discouraged. Don't be whelmed with their insult. Please, just know that the intelligence ones are listening. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining the discourse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can see how...
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining the discourse. I can hear you.
My name is Chidera.
Yes, Chidera, make your point.
Obilo, please, I will like you to use your media, as you have been doing subsequently, to ask Nigerian government anytime their political appointees or police, DSS, army apparatus come to your program to ask them to test indigenous people of Biafra with a referendum so that this case can rest. But if they insist of going in this manner, they cannot defeat this struggle. Currently, indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, it is very difficult. And I want to ask you, I like what you read out, all those things that George said, George Omotosho, Yoruba man. During the Biafra War, Awolowo did his own by starvation of my people, of Biafran people. You can see that Yorubas, not Hausa, although I know that Fulani people are clean people in some part of Nigeria, even in eastern part of Nigeria. Yoruba people are the problem of the Igbos, sometimes not the Hausas, precisely. Obilo, I want to ask you again to ask Nigerian government to test this particular movement with a referendum. But if they are using the tactic of telling Nnamdi Kanu to destroy IPOB so that they will release him in negotiated separatism, it cannot work. People are determined. I don't know. So therefore, I want to raise my case or concluding to say, no matter the suppression, no matter the way they try to blow us, the struggle will not die. You say, I am making prophecies, not the type they make in Nigeria or will make in Nigeria. Take it from me. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you for joining the discourse. Thank you. Let's also avoid ethnic slurs. Let's try to avoid ethnic slurs, because I avoid it in my discussions, because it can be dangerous. Let's avoid ethnic slurs. And the ball is in the court of Ndibo. If Ndibo want a referendum, they can pursue that course. Self-determination is a discussion that has always been ongoing. Awolowo fought on the side of Nigeria, and that is one subject I want to discuss. I remember interviewing Achike Odenwa. He wrote a very good book on the war because he fought the war. And one area we discussed was the Awolowo perspective. We'll come to that point. Hello.
Hello, Mr. Below, sir.
I greet you.
Good evening, sir. Am I coming out clear?
You are coming out clear, but turn down your own device so that we are not listening to ourselves through your own device.
I turn it down. I turn it down, sir.
All right.
Good evening, sir.
I greet you.
Yeah, my name is Deepening. I'm a bona fide of IPOB member since 2015. Mr. Below, there is no much problem in this IPOB family. The only problem is that Maazdi, our leader, Maazdi Nnamdi Kanu, is the one causing this problem. We all believed that we trust him, we believe in him. We don't know that he single-handedly this family into his brothers, into his siblings' hand.
That's the only problem here. After the Nigerian government kidnapped Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, did you know, brother, which is Kanunta, want to take over the leadership? He want to take over the leadership. Why we have HOD, DOA, which lead by Chike Doziem? That's the only problem here. I think that Chike Doziem succumb to Kanunta, there will be no problem in this IPOB. There will be no problem. That is the only issue. He wanted to suppress them to be the leader. That's the only issue. I think that the leadership succumb to him, there will be no problem here. And the second one is that, imagine in organization we are into, we cannot ask Nnamdi Kanu a question. We do not ask question. Both the leadership, we dare not ask any question. Imagine in a finance like this, only one man and the financial and the woman that owes our money and the Kanunta are signatory to withdraw and to know what is going on there. How can it be that we dare not ask question? We dare not ask question. For this kidnapping, many things opened. Many things got to open. Many things got to open. So that is the issue here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the issue. So that is it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Also, let's not get overtly emotional. We should also calm down as we dish out our point. Mind you, the Nigerian government has declared IPOB a terrorist organization. So as far as the Nigerian state is concerned, IPOB is an illegitimate organization. As you listen, also share. We have a lot to talk about. Are you watching on Facebook? We'll appreciate that you share. Are you on YouTube? Share the link. This program will run on Monday and Wednesday nights on Facebook and YouTube, 8 p.m. Nigerian time, on TikTok Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. It's a program to look at Nigerian history. We'll look at the Fulani question, the Yoruba question. I operate from Yoruba land. I operate from Ibadan. I have lived in Ibadan for some time. I was born in Benin City. The Igbo question. The Igbo question. The Igbo question. My father sometimes don't want to discuss the Igbo question. He's so pained. I keep telling him, calm down. Don't die with this kind of pain. Are Igbo persons studying the Nigerian question keenly? The Nnamdi Kanu cases, are Igbo boys, men and women, studying it keenly? How did the Igbos get to this point? Hello. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Good evening to you, Edmond.
I greet you.
Okay. I hope you can hear me. My name is Chidi, by name. Calling from Biafra land. I hope you can hear me very well, sir.
I can hear you. Make your point.
Okay. My point is this, sir. First of all, I want to say something concerning you yourself. Now you have your time you're supposed to be using to sleep, relax, or do one or two things. You're using it to be online to make sure that everyone is being heard out and sort out one or two things in the family. But believe you me, sir, if Nnamdi Kanu can be treated this way after everything he has done, let me tell you the gospel truth. The same people right now that surrounded you, or maybe happy with you, or encouraging you, praising you, believe you me, they will still do the same thing to you. This is what I want you to put your mind for. Anyone that is criticizing the family of Nnamdi Kanu, both the brother, both the wife, and all the rest, they are free to do so. Because, when you have not lost anyone in your family, if they tell you your father is dead, if they tell me your father is dead, and someone that the father is still alive will not know how painful it is, what the family of Nnamdi Kanu is facing now, they are totally emotionally stressed up, mentally stressed up, and everything. So whosoever that are coming online to castigate these people, insult them, say every man, like if Nnamdi Kanu is out today, if this thing has not come to this way, that is, sometimes God allows things to happen so that we all know where we belong to or who we are. If this thing has not happened now, nobody will know that there is a whole lot of people that is full of hatred in between us, inside IPOB members, that hated him this much. Nnamdi Kanu was a man that when he speak on radio, everybody feel like Jesus Christ is speaking. Everybody show him love. But nobody knows that a day will come like this. It will happen. I have learned a lesson from Nnamdi Kanu's problem or what is happening now. No matter what, not everything I should have even said in public, but with the way things are going, I don't know how to control my feelings anymore. Because I'm crying inside me if I see the way people are talking about him, insulting him, saying a lot of things about him. I'm crying inside me. This man is the man that left his family, wife, his son that they have not even seen for years. He's staying in a place whereby he doesn't have freedom. And all of us, we have freedom to move about, go everywhere we want to go to, sleep and come online to say all manner of things. And someone is somewhere else. No matter what he has done, if he has done a mistake or what, though the major people that cause this issue is Mazi, Chinasaworu, and Gift. Even Gift own, I don't even know. It look like these guys are on spare. It look like they are working against us. I don't really know, because there's a lot of division against us right now. Nobody knows where we are going now. Nobody knows our direction anymore. Some are for this place and some are for the other place. They said we are chasing one thing, one struggle, but how can we get it with this mindset that we are right now? No matter what Nnamdi Kanu has done, no matter what the sibling has done, no one have that right or power to come online to speak all manner of things against him without fear, without threat, without conscience. This is what is paining me. I have faced live bullet in times of the struggle, in times of protest, in front of the army barrack, live bullet. But imagine, I do this for the love of our freedom, the love of my country, Biafra to be restored. So imagine if I'm no more, if I died on that process, and wherever I am, I'm seeing this kind of a thing that is happening. How will I feel wherever I am? It will look like I died stupidly. Are you getting me? It look like I died foolishly. I'm not supposed to go and kill myself. Because what is happening now has taught me a lot of lesson of what I will never involve any time that has, all what I pray right now, all what I'm focusing right now is the freedom of our leader, Nnamdi Kanu. That is where I am now. Anything outside this thing, I don't have any more too much feelings concerning it.
Thank you.
Because there's some certain things that no matter what, in public, we are supposed to come in private to sort out this. coming out in public to stuff to say all manner of things. Like, how will the international world see us? How will the people back home see us? Okay, if anybody laid a command now to say, like from the US, say do this and do that, do you think everybody will stand instantly to go and do that? No one will do. Some will say that I'm not among, some will go. And once we are totally divided like this, everything is totally dead. What they should have been fighting for with the energy they have and this energy and the mindset is for the release of him, not what they are doing now.
All right.
When he comes at face, any other thing can happen. If for me, left to me alone, if they say it's not part of my own, is that let him come out that even the leadership is not for him. It's not my business. I don't care about that.
All right. Thank you.
I don't really care about that.
Thank you.
I'm really disappointed. Emeka Gift and China Sawuru, they have caused division they don't even know about. And I don't know how this thing can be. People can come together again based on this thing.
All right.
They have
Thank
really
you.
done a lot of damage that they don't know about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You've made your point. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll take this call then. I'll give some information before I open the lines again. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, my name is Ezu, calling from South Africa.
Thank you for calling.
All right, Mr. Obilo, I really need to thank you very much for the effort you're putting in to make some certain things very clear. Firstly, there is this very significant event that occurred during Nnamdi Kanu's trial. That was the time Kanu said he was going to defend himself. Then most people were happy, and other people had reservation about such idea. But in the end, Kanu found it maybe, I don't know who advised him, and I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what are the technicalities that landed Kanu in sort of conclusion that he will no longer give or tender any kind of defense. All right. So for me, I haven't seen any case all over the world where a case that is being tried as a treason, something that the penalty goes to life sentence or something more than that, then the defendant decided to defend himself. Even when the opportunity was availed, he later decided not to go into defense at all. Okay, based on that, this is my question. You made something very clear, but most people, I don't know how many people it's that particular part. You said in 2013 this law was repealed, and what I understood is that Kanu's trial already started before this whatever law was repealed. Is that true?
The point the judge made that before Nnamdi Kanu's trial, there was already a law, the 2013 Terrorism Act, and on the basis of that law, he was trying Nnamdi Kanu.
Okay, what you are saying right now is that Kanu's trial already initiated in 2013 before the law was later repealed. After already Nnamdi Kanu's case was already started, right?
Look, he said the judge dismissed the argument that the trial was based on a repealed statute, stating that the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act of 2013 was in force when the offenses were committed. It was not repealed.
So please, can you make it a bit clearer? The law was repealed.
It wasn't repealed. The lawyers of Nnamdi Kanu were arguing that the trial was based on a repealed statute, stating that the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2013 was already in force. The judge was saying no, that law was already enforced in 2013 and Kanu's trial started in 2015.
Okay, this very important question I'm asking is to someone to make it clear, because we all believe Most of us in Igbo land believe that Nnamdi Kanu was tried on a repealed law. So if that is true, can you make it clearer to all of us? Because when people start saying, show me the law, show me the law, if that slogan was to be taken up, one cannot be tried on a repealed law. So my question is this, because I'm not a lawyer, I don't understand this things very well. So just make it clear for everyone. If there is no law which Nnamdi Kanu was indicted of, I don't know. Please make it clearer for me. That's my question. That's all. I'm not here to talk about Nnamdi Kanu because it's unreasonable to start blaming someone when he cannot defend himself. Most people who are blaming him today were unable to ask simple questions when he was outside. Not when now he is incapacitated, everybody now comes to remember that it is this and that. It is not my problem what he is. But if he's outside to defend himself, I can tell him, I can ask him, he will answer. But if he was outside, you were unable to ask questions, you were unable to indict him on anything. Now he is incapacitated, not able to defend himself. Now you remember that he's not a good person. I'm not here to decide who is good or who is not. I'm not here to say who is, if Nnamdi Kanu is guilty or not guilty. What I'm saying is that those of his followers who are today remembering that Nnamdi Kanu did this and did that, and he was with them, they could not ask those questions. Then I can't see what to talk about Nnamdi Kanu. I'm just worried about this particular law.
Don't worry, I am going to discuss with a lawyer. I will discuss with a lawyer. A lawyer will break it down. I'm not a lawyer too. But I will discuss with a lawyer and we will break down that judgment.
Thank you very much. This is very understandable. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'll take this call before I close the line and open again later. Hello.
Good evening, Mazi Obilo.
I greet you.
My name is Wisdom. I want to add my voice on the topic, if Biafran is at war. If IPOB is at war, IPOB is not at war. The leadership led by Mazi Chike, which is the DUS, is only doing what is expected of them, which they have been doing since his abduction. Everyone can testify the destruction Simon Ekpan has caused in Biafra land, and how this DUS fought so hard in exposing them and distancing IPOB from those people, those government agents. They sit at home. Everyone can attest how it was hijacked. These current DUS have tried to endure a lot of things until this very moment that they can no longer take it, because it's very, very obvious, which we all know, that Nigerian government have made it a priority for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to destroy this DUS, in able to lay hands on ESN. So, and in pursuit to that, there have been a lot of orders that have been coming in the name of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. As we speak right now, it's not hidden that there have been a new radio that have been instituted that is given Biafra radio. And that radio is said that is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that gave the order. This is a man that told us that anything you do not hear from Radio Biafra, you should not believe it. And this is a man that told us that this current DUS are the DUS that will restore Biafra, because they can never compromise. And we believed him. Now, there have been orders that have come from him allegedly, that we should stop talking about Simon Ekpan, that they should cease every communication, every talking against his activities. If the leadership, the DOS, has obeyed that order, would IPOB be free from still trying to wash their image from those activities that led to jailing him to life imprisonment? A lot of people saying that these DOS, they are disobeying the leader, they are disobeying the leader. Have they gone through to check what are those orders that this current leadership is disobeying? Are they saying that in a movement such as this, that one person will be handling the finance, a position such as the head of the Directorate of State, which is the DOS, Mazi Kedozim, cannot oversee the financial activities that is going on in IPOB in the absence, because some people are saying some of these questions, some people are not asking it when he was out there. We trusted him. People took bullet. 28 men died in his father's compound in Afaruku Ibeku. That was how we reverend him. But his abduction from Kenya exposed a whole lot of things that we will never imagined. Like Mohammed, his press release is there when he talked about his lifestyle. There are some expectation that we have of him, which is the reason why we reverence him the way we do. So this current DOS is doing what they are expected, because if they don't do this, if they don't resist every attempt to destroy this IPOB, every attempt to destroy them, even if him, Nnamdi Kanu, comes out, he will still blame them. He will say, because he has entrusted IPOB in them. That is why he said, anybody Mazi Kedozim said is sacked, is sacked. That is why he said that IPOB is not his family business. That is why he said that when he stopped living up to expectation, that IPOB will move on. He knows that the men he entrusts the activities of IPOB, which is the DOS, will never compromise, regardless. And if they compromise, if he eventually comes out, which we will pray for him to come out, he will blame them that they have failed. He will say because he expected them to resist, because he expected them to know that it's in the hands of the enemies. What communication is secure from Sokoto prison?
Thank you.
How can we survive?
Thank you.
Taking command, coming from prison in the hands of our enemy. Are we not here when his lawyers has been crying that their communication has been compromised, that DSS is using it against them?
All right, you have made your point.
Are we not here?
Thank you.
So, for us, DOS are doing what we expect them to do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mazi.
All right, I'll open the lines again. But let me go through some breakdown. Let me also raise some points to keep the debate going on. I want to raise some points. So this brings us to the crux of the matter. The Edosium faction, in suspending Kanu, cited an intelligence report about a meeting between Kanu and officials of the Department of State Services at Sokoto Prison. They argued that Kanu's communications were being monitored and that his unguarded utterances led to the arrest and deaths of members. They even suggested a plan to establish a new militia organization to instigate violence. From a strategic standpoint, is this a masterclass in sowing disaffection? The Nigerian state, having failed to silence Kanu through legal means, now watches as the movement he built tears itself apart. By leaving Kanu accessible, yet perpetually monitored, the state creates a paradox. What do you think? Kanu is a martyr, but his words can be used against his followers. Is that what you think? Consider these implications. The rendition as president. The Kenya court ruling that Kanu's arrest was unlawful is a fundamental challenge to the legitimacy of his entire trial. His defense team had argued that it was a calculated effort to force a conviction to survive the absence of law. The state's cross-appeal, IPOB argues, is an admission that the trial court lacked jurisdiction. This is the legal warfare where the state, having broken its own rules, now dares the movement to prove it. Let's look at intelligence and paranoia. The Directorate of State's statement alleging a meeting between Kanu and DSS officials is a powerful destabilizing tool. It doesn't matter if it is true. The accusation itself injects poison into IPOB's bloodline. What do you think? Does it not create a narrative of a leader who is either compromised or, at best, dangerously naive while the state watches and waits? So what is the ultimate goal? This is the end point of the state's strategy. Remember, the state is always strategic. The state has the instrument to infiltrate. That is why the state is powerful. Come, let's think. By allowing Kanu's legal and personal fate to create a quarrel, has the Nigerian state succeeded in destroying IPOB? Can the state simply let IPOB destroy itself while the state sits back, observes, and occasionally feeds the flames with a leaked report or a legal gambit? IPOB's crisis is now a crisis of faith. And in that vacuum, the Nigerian state whispers becomes louder than the leader's voice from prison. So far, we have traced Nnamdi Kanu's legal odyssey and the internal rupture it has created. But that rupture didn't happen in a vacuum. It was catalyzed, and it continues to be feared by a legal and political weapon. The state's former designation of IPOB as a terrorist organization has implications. To understand IPOB's current crisis, we have to understand how this designation came about and how the Nigerian state has used it as a strategic tool of disintegration. The formal process began in September 2017. A year the Nigerian military had already declared IPOB a violent terrorist organization, creating political momentum for legal action. On September 20th, 2017, Justice Abdul Kafarati of the Federal High Court in Abuja granted an ex parte application filed by the then Attorney General Abubakar Malami. Critically, this was an ex parte order, meaning that it was granted without IPOB being notified or given a chance to defend itself. The court declared IPOB's activities as acts of terrorism and illegality and proscribed its existence and directed the government to publish the order in the official gazette and 2 national newspapers. IPOB immediately challenged this, arguing that it violated their constitutional right to fair hearing. In January 2025, the Court of Appeal affirmed the proscription of IPOB, ruling that the government has acted lawfully and that IPOB activities pose a threat to Nigeria's continued existence. In November 2025, Justice James Omotosho went a step further, not just affirming the group's proscription, but also convicting Nnamdi Kanu and declaring him an international terrorist, specifically citing his threats to attack the British High Commission and the United States Embassy. This legal firework is a label. It is a weapon. The Nigerian state's deployment of the terrorist designation has strategic implications for IPOB's internal cohesion. By legally branding the entire organization and its leader as terrorist, the Nigerian state delegitimizes the very idea of Biafran self-determination. It transforms a political grievance into a criminal enterprise. This puts immense pressure on members and supporters, forcing them to choose between their political beliefs and the risk of prosecution. This pressure is precisely what creates the environment for internal fractures. Now that the state has been careful to apply this designation selectively, I want you to take note of that. The Nigerian state has been careful to apply this terrorist designation selectively. I want to dive into a conspiracy theory. You can help me break it down, but I will dive into it. And Edoziem's name is prominent in this analysis. For instance, in a significant ruling in February 2025, a federal high court cleared IPOB's head of Directorate of State, Chika Edoziem, the very figure leading the faction that suspended Kanu of terrorism charges. The court ruled that Edoziem's designation as a wanted person and terrorist was unconstitutional. Now, let's turn to a critical piece of this puzzle. Remember, conspiracy theory. You also help me break it down. But let me take you into the theory. Edoziem's legal victory may have inadvertently deepened the division within IPOB that we are now seeing. We are talking about the acquittal of Chika Edoziem, the head of the Directorate of State, who was cleared of terrorism charges by a federal high court in Owerri in February 2025. The case is suit number FHC-OW/FHR/29/2024 with Edoziem as the applicant against the Minister of Defense and the Chief of Defense Staff as respondents. The judgment was delivered by Justice I.N. Owebo, who heard the matter in Owerri, Imo State. This is how it started. On the 22nd of March 2024, the Ministry of Defense published its first edition of 2024, a security threat notice listing Edoziem as a wanted person, terrorist, insurgent, kidnapper, and a violent criminal, and they added his picture to that publication. So what did Edoziem do? He immediately challenged this declaration, arguing that he was never given any invitation or accused of any offense before the publication, making the entire process a violation of his constitutional rights. So he filed a fundamental rights enforcement suit to challenge his unlawful designation. And the justice delivered a decisive verdict. The court declared the inclusion of Edoziem's name in the security threat publication illegal and unconstitutional. The ruling affirmed that the publication was a gross violation of his constitutionally guaranteed right to dignity of the human person. The court ordered the Minister of Defense and Chief of Defense Staff to immediately retract the declaration of Edoziem as a terrorist, insurgent, kidnapper, violent criminal, and wanted person. The government was directed to issue an unreserved apology to Edoziem in 2 national newspapers. The court awarded 5 million naira in damages to Edoziem for the infringement of his fundamental rights. So let's give context to this judgment. Let's unravel it a bit. You help me break it down. I am just a political analyst. I am just a political scientist. I feed on issues. Now, significantly, Edoziem was the only individual among the many names listed in that defense headquarters publication who successfully challenged his designation in court. This isolation is crucial for understanding the subsequent political dynamics. IPOB's lead counsel, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, hailed the ruling as historic and landmark, framing it as a strong statement against unjust profiling and emphasizing the importance of due process in security matters. Now let's connect this to our central analysis. I'm just thinking, the Nigerian state strategy of selectively applying the terrorist designation seems to have found a legal loophole. Edoziem, as the head of the Directorate of State, has been judicially cleared of the terrorist label, yet he is a member of a terrorist organization. This means that a key figure leading the faction that suspended Nnamdi Kanu is now legally clean in the eyes of the Nigerian judiciary, while Kanu himself was sentenced to life imprisonment and declared an international terrorist. This creates a devastating asymmetry. What do you think? Am I playing the devil's advocate here? Edoziem is the reasonable, legally vindicated leader who can now claim legitimacy. Is that a conspiracy theory? Kanu remains the convicted terrorist, accessible only through monitored prison communications. Is this the Nigerian state's trap in action? By allowing one faction to be legally cleansed while the other is criminalized, is the Nigerian state feeling the internal rupture? Edoziem's legal victory validates his faction's argument that the movement must distance itself from Kanu's militant rhetoric. Is that true? Remember, the state doesn't have to destroy IPOB. It can simply let the cleared faction and the criminalized faction tear each other apart, while the courts and security agencies stand by as observers ready to intervene on behalf of the acceptable leadership when the dust settles. So which is the acceptable leadership? Peter Obi has said, if I become president, I will release Nnamdi Kanu. Will Peter Obi be president? Meanwhile, following the 2017 order, the government moved to appoint an administrator to seize IPOB assets in Nigeria and abroad. This is a financial and strategic blow, crippling the movement's infrastructure and its ability to project power and maintain its following. IPOB's legal team, in their defense, has explicitly argued that the government has never presented evidence of violence no arms, no bank transfers, no bomb factories to justify the label, suggesting that the entire designation is a political tool for ethnic suppression. Do you agree? The Nigerian state strategy is subtle but devastating. Do you think so? By legally criminalizing the movement's leader, offering a legal off-ramp to one leader, and crippling the movement's finances, the Nigerian state has not had to destroy IPOB directly. Instead, it has created a landscape where a devastating internal conflict is the most logical outcome. Are you thinking in this direction? The Edosian faction's suspension of Kanu, citing security concerns and fears of violence, fits perfectly into this state-created trap. Do you agree? Whether intentionally or not, are both factions playing the role that the Nigerian state has designed for them? The movement is left to implode under the weight of its own contradictions, with the state's legal architecture looming over every step of its disintegration. I'll leave this theory at this point. I will open the lines now. After that, I will conclude. So you can call the number 080-999-18449. Remember, make your comments brief. Don't take all the time. So I won't give anybody more than 4 minutes now. I won't give you more than 4 minutes because I'm about to round it off.
I will open the lines now. After that.
All right, you are on. Hello.
Good evening, Mazi Obilo.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for this very wonderful program. My name is Wanda Jovista Chichi. Mazi, I'm grateful the way you are just playing the devil's advocate because you asked that question. That is exactly what you're doing, and that is a good quality, one of the good qualities of a good journalist. A good journalist will always play the devil's advocate. Mazi, let me start by saying that justice suffers when incompetence hides behind titles and wigs. When legal ignorance roots.
Hello.
Why did I start this way? You raised the issue or question. Why was Mazi Chika Edosian cleared of terrorism or illegality? And why is Nnamdi Kanu sentenced? Mazi, that was why I started the way I just did. If Mazi Chika Edosian has used a bad lawyer, he would have gone the same way Nnamdi Kanu went. But because he decided to use a knowledgeable lawyer, a practicing lawyer, a legal literate lawyer, who understands his left from his right. Mazi, do you know? You said that Nigerian government declares IPOB a terrorist group. Do you know why? It was caused by illegal illiterates. I know that illegal illiterates is so dangerous to justice. A legal illiterate can deliver his clients into conviction. I remember very well that when Barrister Aloy Ejimako wanted to challenge that case while it was in court, Barrister Ifeanyi Ejimako, the legal luminary, advised Nnamdi Kanu that case should allow to be, since his own case is being there already. There is no need challenging that case. Let it remain there so that we know that IPOB is not proscribed. That is why before now, whenever Nigerian news media we mention IPOB as a proscribed group, we will reiterate. Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor will retaliate, and we force that media to realize that IPOB is not a proscribed group. And we've not forgotten that it was the same Aloy Ejimako who sometimes thought that he went to Enugu to clear that proscription case, that IPOB was no longer proscribed, that it was cleared in Enugu State High Court. Then it was this same Aloy who went to challenge that case again. And Nigeria government proscribed IPOB. And today, the Nigerian news media can freely say whatever they choose to say. Mazi, that is on the one side.
You have to round off. You have to round off.
How am I going to do right now? Okay. Let me come with this because I can't go off without saying this since you asked me to round up. Mazi, I would have wanted to connect the dots before coming to that, but let me quickly hit the nail on the head. Mazi, there is a shocking revelation post that Benjamin Madubugu made today. In that post, he claimed, because he's using a secret account known as Chi Umibo, he made that post claiming that, let me read it here, having that post, please permit me. The first sentence, he said, how many of you have noticed now that men on ground, volunteers, are now united as one? Biafra Liberation Army are now united in the umbrella of ESN as it is before. My God. And he said, China Sanworu destroyed Alibo by it. I don't want to go into that. Now, Mazi, do you know that this has made me to now discover the major problem between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and China Sanworu? This is the unforgiving sin that Mazi China Sanworu committed against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu when he said that he has compromised, that he didn't do what he asked him to do. Until date, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu refused to tell us the sin of Mazi China Sanworu. Now, through this post, Mazi Benjamin exposed that it was because Mazi China Sanworu refused joining the ESN with Biafra Liberation Army. Mazi, who didn't know how these people destroyed an Igbo? The destruction that they brought upon us. That if not that Mazi Chinua Sanwo-Olu, the DOS and IPOB stood their ground, Mazi, even by now, each and every one of us, irrespective of any country you are, you would have been picked. It's either you are picked by Nigerian DSS or you are picked by FBI. By now, many people would have been returned to Nigeria.
All right.
Because of the act of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Benjamin Madubug. Mazi, I wish I have enough time to talk, to connect these dots, for we to see that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is an irresponsible leader who is not fit to lead IPO, because a good leader never causes chaos. A good leader is never a traitor. A good leader is never a confucianist.
Thank you.
Let me hang it here. I wish you can grant me the opportunity to call back so that I can connect the dots. Thank you so much, Mazi.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Hello. I have picked your call. Stop listening to your device. Listen to your phone. Your device, there's a delay because of internet. So you listen to your phone. Once I pick your call, your phone will be reading.
Okay, noted.
All right. So make your point.
Okay, thank you. My name is Mazi Obasi, and I'm glad to call into your program. I understand the time has been reduced, but I want to quickly mention a few things that I heard you make some comparison, and I won't say in the beginning, but when I joined the program, one of the first comparison was Hugo Chavez and the cult followership and how it was cemented by Nicolas Maduro in building the nation. And I think you were trying to make comparison with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and why we could not do that. You brought in Awolowo and the Awoism. I want to say that I know you are a seasoned journalist and an expert, especially in this line of conversation or argument. But I want to chip my 2 cents. And that is that these are 3 distinct leaders leading 3 different people that have completely different ideology, that the circumstances of their leadership is very, very different in terms of how they came, when they came, and what they left behind. Hugo Chavez, yes, was in the government, was in the military, attempted coup and all this, and the people respected him. And what was going on then, of course, gave him that opportunity. But this clear distinction. Hugo Chavez never ascribed to himself divinity in a means to evade accountability. And we can say the same about Nnamdi Kanu. I keep saying Nicolas Maduro, sorry. Hugo Chavez, when he was captured after the attempted coup, he was not dishing out orders while he was in captivity. It was the action of the people, rather, that forced his reinstatement to be able to come out and continue with with the objective that he had in mind. That's true. Even his brother, who was his close ally and confidant, was not disruptive to the objective of the people. Now, in Biafran cause, we can say, aside from style or maybe oratory or in a style of leadership,
if you're talking about someone who actually started a movement that we should have some level of cult movement in Biafran agitation, I will say that person should be Dim Chukwemeka Odumego Juku and not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu never invented Biafra. He was a good guy who tried to do his best. He was courageous. I keep saying that. I would not have come out when he did. So I definitely applaud him for that. But attempting to evade accountability and importing family into what people have died for. The case of Biafra did not start in 2012, which I'm sure you know very well, even more than I do, by age and everything. People who died in 1967 to 1970 did not die because of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. They died because of Biafra. That was the same name, the same ideology he invoked in 2012 that led many people, such as myself and others, to follow. It was under that name that many lost their lives. It was under that ideology that many were willing to sacrifice all that they have in pursuit of. It wasn't for Nnamdi Kanu as a person. Now, I think credit should be given to us as a people if we have grown politically matured enough to be objective enough to say, you know what, we love you. You did well. But as far as our collective objective is concerned, we are going to be objective. We will not be emotional. We will not want to subject our entire goal or our entire survival to emotional or to emotions and sentiment. Quickly, I also move because of your time. You also talked about, you tried to play the devil's advocate. You talked about the clearance of Chike Doziem. And I like what Mwada Chichi said. The difference is in the, of course, in the lawyer that they had. But let me also add that Mazi Chike Doziem did not attempt to defend himself even when he doesn't have the training to do so. That was a suicide mission, which every well-meaning IPOB advised against. We have seen the lawyers of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu recently trying to say that the judge should not have allowed Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to defend himself in such charges that, carries a death penalty, that they have erred by allowing him. But that was what you sought after. Clearing Chike Doziem does not in any way imply some masterstroke by the Nigerian government. It was a victory of his own because nothing could be attributed to him. If you look at the sentencing of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, right or wrong, we will both agree that aside from his broadcast, which was done in the UK, and that broadcast which they could not attribute any jurisdiction to, aside from that, in the amended charges, the activities of Simon Ekpa was imported in order to give some appearance of validity to whatever cooked judgment they already have in place that they want to deliver on him. That is not similar with the case of Chike Doziem. Are we also going to say that the discharge and acquainted that was gotten from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in 2022, was also a government masterstroke to divide? Of course not. The difference is that he had good lawyer. He had lawyer who understand what he was doing. In the case of our proscription, it was until Ejimako and his friends came in and amended the grounds of appeal that the case of that proscription, had that very bitter outcome. Before then, it wasn't so. If they had treated the path that was carved for them by those who know the way, that would not have happened. And I want to say finally that there is no, in the dictionary meaning of the word faction, yes, we can claim to have, anyone can claim that there is faction in IPOB, but there isn't really a faction. If you take into cognizance the broadcast that was done yesterday by Mazi Chike Doziem, he clarified that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a member of IPOB. He has not been kicked out of IPOB.
But we are not going to allow his office and position, or the office and position that he occupied then, to be used by people who knew very well that he is incarcerated, and as such will not be able to publicly state what he approved and what he did not. Example of that was the pseudonym we were using for our press releases. We had the name Emma Powerful as a pseudonym that we're using. It got to a point that people were issuing contradicting press releases that we know very well did not come from the leadership of the movement. There is nothing that gives the siblings of Nnamdi Kanu the right to issue releases in the name of an organization that they were never member of, neither leaders in that. There's something that gives them that right. Instead of having that confusion that may lead to loss of life and property of our people that have lost a lot already. We have lost many young men and women. We don't want to lose them anymore. We have to protect them, and we have to protect the movement. We have other people like Benjamin Madubugu and his other colleagues that were charged alongside Nnamdi Kanu in 2015. These people had their cases separated. They are still in Nigeria walking around freely. Are we going to say that they were also, given that freedom to walk around in Nigeria when an ordinary IPOB member who doesn't even know A and B is being arrested, dehumanized, incarcerated without trial, some of them on the kangaroo trial? We can't equate that. So if we are playing a devil advocate, we should be at least fair so that we don't appear to be deliberately trying to be mischievous or to point the narrative in certain direction that are not considered to be fair. Thank you very much for giving me extra time. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take 2 more calls and I'll round off. Hello. I'm trying to put you on. I'm coming. I've picked a call already. Sorry. Just hold on. You are not on yet. Yeah, I can hear your voice underneath, but the calls are not allowing me to trigger the speaker. Okay, you are on now.
Okay, thank you. I actually called in earlier, but I think I see that you take your deliberation bit by bit, so it gives people who have called in earlier to still recall back to be able to make input in the new episode you raised. So I want to, because I've seen people call in here and try to talk about how the followers of Nnamdi Kanu have turned against him and how they have demonized him. That is completely not true. The truth of the matter is that the people of Biafra saw qualities in Nnamdi Kanu. They saw him as somebody that had the flame, and they saw his convincing voice. They saw genuity in him, and the young people who has same burning desire for freedom followed him, and people laid down their lives for him, not just for the Biafra cause, to protect his own life. So that Nnamdi Kanu is alive today is because there are young people who put their own lives on the line for him to be alive. When Python's dance happened in his father's compound, young men stood guard. And there is no better love that a man can give than laying down his life. So anybody who is coming here to gaslight our people for standing their ground in protecting the movement and protecting IPOB against infiltration by suspending the office of Nnamdi Kanu as a result of the ill activities coming out of the office is not being sincere to themselves. You know, at some point, some of us have also been emotional. Some of us have also been sentimental in this journey. But you get to a point where you have to make a decision. If you have to, continue with your sentiment and emotion, or you take a stand. And looking at the amount of sacrifice we've made, the life of Nnamdi Kanu was being sponsored by the indigenous people of Biafra. And outside putting their lives on the line to protect him, we sponsored his lifestyle. We gave him everything he needed to be able to live comfortably anywhere in the world. Through our mass crowdfunding and people making sacrifices in different ways to be able to make sure that he delivers his job. And let's remember that he was the one who brought himself out. He was the one who volunteered to say, I want to lead. And the people followed him. Other volunteers followed him. And as he chose to lead, he understood the risk that is attached to that leadership position. Likewise, every other follower who have also followed him, we all understood the risk that is attached to the freedom fighting we have involved ourselves in. And so there is something I want to make very clear here, that we already knew that Nnamdi Kanu can never get justice in Nigerian court. Outside the fact that he misstepped by choosing, sacking the lawyers who actually understood what they were doing, and choosing the wrong counsel for himself, which was his own deliberate decision with his younger brothers, Kanunta and Emmanuel, they all Kona, because maybe possibly they didn't like the face of Ozekome, or maybe they didn't like the face of Ifeanyi Ejiofor. So they took a deliberate decision to change a legal counsel who was on the right path of victory for Nnamdi Kanu in court, and decided to choose somebody who they feel could be a collaborator in whatever conspiracy they choose to involve themselves with. Now, Nnamdi Kanu is facing life sentence. We are all agitated. We are all angry. Nobody is happy with the kind of sentencing the Nigerian court have issued him. But that does not take away the fact that we should live with the emotion of Nnamdi Kanu's sentence. We also have a responsibility to protect our struggle so that through the protection of our struggle, we would be able to continue to agitate and fight for his release. Because if IPOB eventually collapses, that will also spell doom for him in detention. So, Mazio Bilo, I want us to cut off completely this idea of sentiment and emotion, because sentiment and emotion cannot give us freedom. Sentiment and emotion cannot deliver Biafra to Biafra people. We can only restore Biafra through realism and facing reality in real time.
Thank you.
So that is the truth of the matter, and I want to say thank you for bringing this topic. You see the passion in our people. You see the passion in their voices. You see the passion, the way they come into this program to make their contribution. That goes a long way to tell anybody that Biafra is in our bloodline. Because we live Biafra, we eat Biafra, we breathe Biafra, and we all believe that only Biafra is the only way for the liberation of Ndi Igbo. Nigeria is a waste of time for us.
All right, thank you.
I've always told them that the Igbo man can never fulfill his destiny until he found his freedom. The Igbo man needs to take his destiny in his hand to be able to forge and become part of humanity and become part of the Commonwealth. If we continue in Nigeria, we go nowhere as a people. Mazio Bilo, I commend your patience. You are a great hero. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Hello. This is the last caller as a round off. Hello. Are you there? Okay. He's not saying anything. Hello.
Hello. Good evening from here. State of affairs.
I greet you.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you, sir. This is Mazo Kenu Kechuku, the general. I'm calling from Germany. This is a wonderful program, and I want to thank you very much for a day like this. And it's very, very important I add my voice and speak to the people of Biafra. The reason why we are in this mess that we are today. But first, I would like to tell people that are saying that we have moved forward and we have abandoned the ex-leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. When somebody don't want you to help him, there is no how you can ever force yourself to help a man that doesn't want you to help him. And we have to state the obvious. But I want to go straight away to the issue between Nnamdi Kanu being sentenced life imprisonment and Mazi Chukwuka Dibia Edoziem, the head of Directorate of State, being tagged a terrorist and at the same time pasted his picture and wanted. You know, in the law court, most important is technicalities. There is no how you can use a quack lawyer to go and defend a high-profile case. Nnamdi Kanu is a very high-profile case. And we should remember, in the court, the symbol of court is a woman that have a 2 weights on her hand. That means that you must put that technicalities and know the law of the land. And you must challenge the law. And in every law court, you must make sure you stand and be able to defend your client. Remember that Nnamdi Kanu himself have also gotten discharged, acquit in the court. We don't know the reason why Nnamdi Kanu decided to go back again to court. That is the question that our people are supposed to begin to ask Nnamdi Kanu. After you have been gotten a discharged and acquit in a law court, why should you go back to court? What is he hiding for us not to know? And the same technicalities is what helped Mazi Chukwuka Dibia Edoziem to get a discharge from the law court or court in Nigeria. So what I'm saying in essence is this: Nnamdi Kanu knows what he's doing. Nnamdi Kanu don't meant well for this quest of self-determination. Nnamdi Kanu is a man that comes for his personal interest. Some people may be saying that he started well from the day one or he started well from the beginning. How to know a true freedom fighter? According to Nnamdi Kanu, he told us the place of a freedom fighter. He said, and I quote, 1, exile. 2nd, 6 feet. 3rd, in prison. Then, and we have our brothers and sisters who have paid ultimate price. They have gone beyond not returning back again. I don't know how Nnamdi Kanu now will find himself in a prison and now begin to agitate to come out just like that. Does it mean that he has forgotten the position or the mantle that he claimed, like what he did? Because Nnamdi Kanu, I will say this to you, Nnamdi Kanu is the #1 propagandist machine. This is a man that I defended for over 5 years. And he turned around and began to tell me that all those things that I'm defending is just nonsense. So I want to tell the world that Nnamdi Kanu knows what he's doing. Nnamdi Kanu don't want Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu don't even think about Biafra. That is why Chukwuka Dibia Edoziem were free in the court. Because he used the right lawyer. He know the technicality. He bring out his mind to fight for his own people. The agenda of Nnamdi Kanu is something different. That is why he finds himself in this mess that he is today. Thank you very much, my brother. I don't want to waste time because it takes me a while to get to this call, so I want to give others chance to call. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I can see the phone buzzing. I want to round off. I don't want to go beyond 3 hours so that people can also go do other things. The lines are still buzzing. Yes, the Biafran question. The Biafran war. I'm looking at Alexandra Madiebo's book entitled The Nigerian Revolution and the Biafran War. I recommend that book to every student of Nigerian politics. It's a book that we should read to keep abreast of issues that happened at that time. Yakubu Gowon has released a book, his own story of the war. You will find these books on udarabooks.com. You can see it scrolling. Udara Books is our bookstore. I founded the store. And what we do with the store is to collect every work that is available on Nigerian history, politics and power, for this generation to read and understand. I have recommended this to you, Tragedy of Victory by Alabi Sama. If you go on my YouTube page, you'll find the interview with Alabi Sama. And I'm thinking of interviewing Yakubu Gowon. I'm thinking of interviewing him. I hope that will work. And there is a new book written by Professor Joseph Nnodim. I can see it there, Professor Joseph Nnodim. I've interviewed Joseph Nnodim, and I'm going to release that interview. You know, there were also division in Biafra during the war. Have you studied what happened between Njoku and Ojukwu? You know, Ojukwu had to remove Njoku at some point. Njoku was the head of the army, and Njoku was replaced with Madiebo. There was also deep division during the war, and Nnodim captured the division in Biafra in his new book. Look out for that interview. It's an audio interview. I'll be releasing it soon on my YouTube channel. Have you read Emeka by Frederick Forsyth? The biography of Ojukwu. But this is a classic, The Last Flight. This is a classic by Captain August Okwe. He was trained by Nigeria. He was one of the best members of Nigeria's Air Force. But when the war broke out, he went to his tent, and his tent was Biafra. And he fought for Biafra. This book is a classic. I recommend this book to every Nigerian interested in the war. And the Biafran question is also the African question. And that is why sometimes I was looking at the war in Liberia, the Sierra Leone war. It was a tribal war. Have you read this, The State of Africa? Have you read The Scramble for Africa? You know, there was a scramble. If you read the Ahira Declaration, I might treat the Ahira Declaration on Wednesday. There's something I want to point out. Because when I was looking at this book, The Scramble for Africa, Ojukwu mentioned the scramble. Ojukwu talked about the scramble. And you know, the Ahira Declaration was well written. I'm surprised Igbos don't hardly quote from that declaration. Ahira Declaration. It was the Igbo agenda for development. Read it. It's online. Download it. The Ahira Declaration can be compared to the Arusha Declaration. Okay, this caller has been calling. He's going to be my last caller as I go. Hello. Look at your phone, not your device. I have picked your call. You are not saying a word. All right, when I pick your call, you will know now. You will see your phone reading. There's delays, internet transmission. Let me conclude this way. I will still continue to raise questions. He's calling again. Let me give him the chance. Hello.
If IPOB eventually collapses, that will also spell doom for him in intention. So, I want us to
all right. He's not ready to talk. Let me conclude by making this point. We have traced the arc of a movement tragedy, from the charismatic founder to the legal labyrinth, from the terrorist designation to the quarrel that is ongoing. So now we arrive at the conclusion, a meditation on power, legitimacy, and the fate of movements that dare to challenge the state. The IPOB crisis is, at its core, a political crisis. It is a collision between two opposing theories of political authority. On one side stands Nnamdi Kanu, the charismatic leader, the voice from the prison cell. Those who love him dearly said he is supreme. He's a martyr, they say. His authority is not derived from any written constitution or bureaucratic procedure. His followers say it flows from an almost mystical connection with his followers, from his willingness to sacrifice his freedom for the cause. As Max Weber observed, charismatic authority is revolutionary precisely because it rejects tradition and rationality. Take note, it rejects tradition and rationality. It is personal, unpredictable, and absolute. Because some of the callers have made that point, that leadership has been personalized. When charisma is not checked, it moves in that direction. On the other side stands Chika Edoziem and the Directorate of State. They are the institutionalists, the pragmatists, the believers in structure over personality. So they argue that the movement must be governed by rules, not by the whims of a single individual, especially one who is inaccessible and whose communications are monitored by the state. That is what is called the logic of routinization that I mentioned earlier. The attempt to transform a court of personality into a durable political organization. Should I say that this is the tragedy? That neither side can fully succeed without destroying the movement. The charismatic faction, by insisting on Kanu's absolute authority, keeps the movement frozen in time, unable to adapt, vulnerable to the state's manipulation of its imprisoned leader. The institutional faction, led by Edoziem, by attempting to depersonalize the movement, also risk alienating the very base that was drawn to Kanu's messianic appeal. Therefore, IPOB is caught between stagnation and self-destruction. The Nigerian state, meanwhile, has orchestrated this rupture with surgical precision. I have made that point before. So what are the lessons that IPOB can learn from what is going on? Let me point to some instances. IPOB can survive or it can destroy itself. History affirms grim precedents. Consider the fate of other charismatic secessionist movements around the world. I'll give you two instances or two examples. One is the Biafran Republic that existed from 1967 to 1970. That was the original Biafra movement. And that movement stamped itself with the Ahara Declaration, though the declaration came later in the war. And that original Biafran movement was led by Odumegwu Ojukwu. It collapsed, not through internal division really, but through military defeat. The federal forces delivered the final blow, and there was never a chance to test that movement's ability to survive its leader. So this is the nightmare scenario for IPOB. External annihilation before internal resolution. Then let's look at the Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka. This movement built around the charismatic Velupillai Prabhamkaram was crushed militarily in 2009. Like Kanu, Prabhamkaran was the absolute leader. Like IPOB, the Tamil Tigers was designated a terrorist organization. The movement did not survive its leader's death. It was extinguished by force. Now let's look at the Kurdish PKK in Turkey. Here, we see a different outcome. Perhaps that is what Edoziem is saying. I'm talking about the Kurdish PKK in Turkey. The movement's founder, Abdullah Öcalan, had been imprisoned since 1999. Yet the PKK has survived and adapted, partly because the movement had already developed a more decentralized structure before Öcalan's capture. The movement did not attempt to maintain Öcalan's absolute authority from prison. Instead, it evolved into a more horizontal organization, allowing it to endure. IPOB's crisis is a test of which historical path it will follow. Will it remain frozen in the charismatic worship of an imprisoned leader, inviting the state to exploit that vulnerability? Or will it attempt the painful transition to institutionalization, risking the alienation of its base? So this brings us to the question that will linger in the minds of everyone listening. Can a movement built on the charisma of one man survive the loss of that man? The answer, as history shows, is yes, but only through transformation. The movement must either routinize its charisma, that is, build durable institutions, create a succession mechanism, and develop a political identity that transcends the founder. This is the Gaullist part earlier described. Another option is to revive the leader's charisma. Transfer the emotional core of the movement to a new chosen leader who can convincingly carry the founder's mantle. This is the Peronist or Chavista path. But IPOB is doing neither at the moment. It is fracturing between two parts, with each faction claiming legitimacy while delegitimizing the other. And into this vacuum, the state steps in, offering legal legitimacy. In the end, the IPOB crisis is not just about Biafra. It is about the universal challenge of political succession in movements built on personality. It is about the tension between the revolutionary purity of the founder and the pragmatic compromises required for survival. It is about how states exploit these tensions to destroy their enemies from within. As we close this deep dive, we leave you with this thought. The Nigerian state may not need to defeat IPOB. It may only need to watch IPOB defeat itself. And in that watching, you will say the Nigerian state has already won. It is left for IPOB to prove that wrong. But the story is not over. The appeal against Kanu's conviction will proceed. The internal struggle within IPOB will continue. And the question of succession, or who speaks for Biafra, might remain unresolved. Remember, state governors in Igbo land are watching. For now, the movement is suspended between two words: the word of the martyr and the word of the pragmatist. And in that suspension lies its greatest vulnerability and its only hope. Thank you for listening. Another edition will come up again on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Nigerian time. I might look at the Ahira Declaration. Thank you. Thank you. Good night from this side of time.